Hello everyone, I'm Nick Peters of Deeper Waters Apologetics for Gaming Theologian, and I affirm a virgin birth. April is Autism Awareness Month. Now, really, I don't care about identity politics things, but I do consider myself an advocate for people on the spectrum because I'm on the spectrum. And since this is about video games and Christianity, we're going to discuss how video games have affected my journey. My start probably came when I was 4 or 5. And I'm really dating myself when I say this because I do remember coming home from school and seeing something under a television that I assume had been there for a while, but I'd never really noticed. And I asked what it was. And I was told it was a system called a ColecoVision. I had no idea about it, but it turned out to be the first video game system I played. And I understand my dad thought he was hot stuff at a lot of the games on there until I started playing them. And then it was clear who the undisputed king of the house was in that area, at least. My favorite, to this day, I'd say one of my favorite games of all time was Ladybug, which was a sort of precursor to Pac-Man, where you had a ladybug going through trying to eat all the pellets in a lever with doors that could open and close, all the while avoiding 4 insects that wanted to kill it. If I could find this game on the Switch, it would be a case of shut up and take my money immediately. To this day, I still have a special place in my heart for ladybugs because of this. Now, when I got to elementary school, the kids around me were talking about Nintendo. And so eventually, I got myself a Nintendo. It was a birthday gift on my 8th birthday. Sometime in elementary school, we found out I was on the spectrum because of how different I'd been acting. My parents always knew there was something different, but they didn't know what it was. And I remember even thinking about this just recently because I've sometimes read over the old reports they had about me there. And I remember one when I was early on saying, this kid's obsessed with a Nintendo. All he talks about is Nintendo. And something I thought that was, why didn't anyone ever ask why? Isn't that a good question? You look at a kid who's extremely interested in some aspect of the world, rather than explore that and find out what's going on, you say, this is a problem. You know, I'm pretty sure if I'd been into, say, baseball or football the same way, it probably wouldn't have been seen that way. It's kind of like today, I'll see messages from men trying to tell other men how to get women in their lives, and they'll say, well, stop playing video games. No one ever says, stop watching sports so much, or things of that sort. And I've even looked for data on that. I can't find it. All I get is anecdotal stuff. But to get back to my case, naturally when Super Nintendo came out, I got that too. And I remember a friend of mine and I had a contest with one game, Chrono Trigger, still considered possibly the best RPG of all time. See who could beat it first. And he even got it a week before I did. By 4 hours, I beat the game first. And when I was 15, I had scoliosis surgery. And my parents had told me they weren't going to buy me any more game systems. But when you're in the hospital having major surgery, people seem to give you money as a gift to get well. I had enough that I bought the Nintendo 64. Eventually, I did buy a PlayStation and PlayStation 2 for 2 words, Final Fantasy. That was the main draw. Now, to this day, games have been a constant friend of mine. So what does this have to do with autism awareness? When you're on the spectrum, you tend to be completely interested in something, or you just don't care at all. And for me, I am completely interested in games, and I'm completely interested in Christianity. And apologetics has been the go-between for those in some ways. Because when I do apologetics, it's like I'm taking the gaming world and I'm putting it in the real world. In the gaming world, you're the hero trying to defeat the villains, where when you do apologetics, you're trying to defeat ideologies and fight for the souls of mankind. It is a real adventure. It is a real game. And not only that, it's because of this that I'm able to connect socially with people around me. If I meet someone who plays a game, we can have an instant friendship going right there. I can understand so much of the world when put in these terms. I'm doing some looking right now. For instance, I'm taking Greek, and I've asked myself, why is it that it seems hard to remember a lot of the conjugations for verbs and things of that sort? And I tested myself on this, I can play a Zelda game that I haven't played in years, which I did just recently, and still find everything. And it's convincing me that I learn through games. How did I learn apologetics? Because I was out there on the internet debating this stuff every single day. And I wanted to win. I needed to be good at what I did. When I went through my divorce, I told myself, Nick, you have a lot to be sad about. And I still do. And it's painful. But you can either sit down and cower and let your ex-wife win and be a victim the rest of your life, or you can get up and do something and take control of your life. I chose the latter because as I told my divorce care leader, this is the only time I get to play this game, and I'm going to play it to win. That's why I'm here at seminary working on my master's. And it's one reason I've got this channel going now, because I figure I love both of these things. How can I connect them together? In trying to answer the questions, how do you live a Christian life? What place does fun and joy have in a Christian life? It's really sad. I've gone on Amazon and looked up books, Christianity and fun. And what you get are things like games for kids. No one asks a question, is Christianity fun? I mean, of course, don't get me wrong, I know Jesus promises us suffering, that there's trials, there's temptations, but there's also supposed to be joy in serving Jesus. I think you're supposed to love being a servant of the Lord. So on the spectrum, I take my interests in and I put them together. And it does help me come out of my shell, because when I meet people, if I don't know them well, I'm super quiet. I don't really trust people. You have to get me on one of my interests, and that's the thing it is with those of us on the spectrum especially. If I went to a church and they mistreated me, made fun of me because of my gaming interests, said that you should be interested in other things, I wouldn't want anything to do with that. And too often when I go to a church and they have what's called a men's event, I find it's something I wouldn't want to do at all. You have a barbecue and you play sports together. Look, I know that works for a lot of guys, but for a lot of us it doesn't. It turns us away. You know, if you say, we're going to have a gaming night, we're going to get together all our systems, and we're just going to play, I'm cool with that. I have a group here of a seminary that I play tabletop games with. Every couple of weeks, we get together, and I have a therapist working with me on social skills, and he came to the group a few times to observe me, And he's very pleased with what he sees. He says, you get along great. You make jokes. People laugh at what you say. People pay attention. You know, he told me some things to work out. But he said, you're doing very well. You know, I'm happy that since I'm on the spectrum, I do have something I can use to understand the world. Something I can use to connect. The games I play have been stories that have guided me, that have left me thinking about greater issues, and those issues find their answers in Christianity, in the person of Jesus. So when you meet someone and they're on the spectrum and they have an intense interest in video games, don't treat it as a problem, at first at least. Treat it as a clue. Treat it as a way you can look and say, I know something about this person. What more can I learn about them? How can I connect to them through this? Because it seems bizarre to say, I need to connect with this person. I'm going to try and change their interest to something I can connect with, and I'm going to connect with them that way. No, go where they're at. Meet them where they are. Connect with them at that place. And games are becoming more and more common, and because of the internet, people like myself are finding our voice much more. When I go out and I have to do evangelism on the streets, I generally get terrified of it. But when I sit behind a computer and I can speak to people, my words flow out. I'm able to communicate that way. And if I have a good debate going, I enjoy it more than any game I've got going. It is. I will pause a game if I see something pop up and says, so-and-so's replied, okay, let's go. I enjoy it. And honestly, I think if you are in ministry, whatever you do, you should enjoy to some extent. You should do something that you like doing for the kingdom. So this April for Autism Awareness Month, be aware of the people in your church who are on the spectrum and how you can better reach them. Maybe they don't like video games, and that's cool if they don't. But if they do, see it as a clue, not a problem. And if you want to reach someone outside the church, because a lot of people on the spectrum are atheists and agnostics, if they're into games, use that as a start, because most gaming worlds, they are theistic actually. You have mythical creatures and magic and all these other things going on that you don't have in a materialistic world. Use that. People who are on the spectrum are people Jesus Christ loves and died for. Celebrate them. And you know another way you could also celebrate people on the spectrum? You could celebrate work I'm doing here. Very easy, just like, comment, subscribe, and share this channel with friends. Now, I'm Nick Peters, Deeper Waters Apologetics, and I affirm the virgin birth.